Episode 7 of our podcast. This is a Macedonia special and I'm in the hotel room right now. Anyway, our chairman, unlike the rest of us who flew into the Balkan Peninsula, travelled in a rather unorthodox manner, and I had a chat to him about that and other things as well, of course. Mike, 100 years ago, you would probably have been an explorer out to far-flung continents of the world where no European had set foot prior to then. As it is, you've just made probably the modern-day equivalent, a journey across Europe in a car that you bought for £800.
Well, yeah, it was rather good fun, and I would say to you that it may not have been 100 years ago at the border crossing coming into Macedonia. I did at one point think I was going into the pot sliced with a few onions and carrots.
So Mike, tell us the road trip. Now the rest of us have taken the easy route. We arrived at Luton Airport, got on a plane, got off at the other end in Macedonia. You decided to go the long way round.
Yeah, well, the road trip last year we did to Portugal. Very civilised really, because we were obviously France and a little bit of Spain into Portugal. Was quite a predictable journey, albeit 1,700 miles. This was similar type of distance, but obviously far more countries, and there was still a little bit of air of mystique, because obviously wandering into Bosnia or wandering into Kosovo may not have had the desired effect that good, clean living boys would have wanted. But we navigated our way past all the obstacles, right up to the 11th hour, where €50 managed to make sure that all our documents were in good order.
Well, that was always going to be the stumbling block, Mike. You came into France, of course, European Union countries, no problem at all. But then you left the EU, so actually you did quite well to get through for €50.
For €50, yeah. And I would say that, yeah, it was a great experience. And the lady was so descriptive. Where it says, "You have big problems, big problems," and I'm going, "Yes, but your documentation is not right." And I'm going, "How do I get the right documentation? €50." I just howled with laughter. I handed over €50 and we sailed through.
Well, Mike, so, as they say,
money talks.
Or money can't buy me love, but it can buy you access into Macedonia.
Absolutely, and I definitely didn't want to have any love off this particular lady. All I didn't want, and even if she was a fish in the river, and you know what I mean about that.
Well, Mike, you've arrived now safely. You're staying in the same hotel as the team. Let's talk football now. In your years as the owner and chairman of the New Saints, and prior to that, Total Network Solutions, how do you see the club progressing personally? Do you think this is perhaps our best chance of moving further on in Europe than we have before?
Well, every year you always hope you're going to go a little bit further than the last time. I do have some concerns when every player says they love the hotel. I'm either worried whether my bank account is going down too quickly or there's something wrong, because I've never had players come up to me before and say, "This is the best hotel I've ever stayed in." So I am slightly concerned, but no, in all fairness, you always hope that you can prepare properly. You obviously, no matter how much our league is what it is, believe that our teams are overpaid. We're a pittance compared to the teams we have to play against. Even the team that we'll be playing here, their budget will be far in excess of our playing budget, and which does put you into a difficult situation at the first hurdle. Your player selections. You have to work very hard to get talent that is needed to have a team that can compete, especially when you look at clubs playing in the English pyramid. They've got their checkbooks open, and they can obviously attract players on the levels of budget that we're trying to win a national league on. So that's obviously always going to be difficult. But when you do find the players, particularly the players we've got now at the moment, lads who actually believe in the game, they want to be part of the club, they want to do well for themselves and the football club, well, they're going to give it their best chance. And this is probably the best stage they could ever further their career. And as much as it's always sad to see a prospecting good player leave, we do it with a happy heart, particularly if they get the right move. But the game is awash with money, particularly in England at the sort of first top 3 leagues. Players are on treble, 4 times the money they can earn at our football club. So you've got to always say, hey, lads, you've got to provide for your family first. But ultimately, I think that our club is one of the best stages for them to prepare themselves to be seen for a very good move.
Now, Mike, as the owner and chairman, as I've already said, of the New Saints, you must be particularly proud to be here today with the players, with the squad, embarking on a journey that, after the Champions League, assuming we don't win it, of course, we then go into the Europa. So, back to my original point, it is a wonderful opportunity for TNS to progress further than perhaps in previous seasons.
Well, absolutely. And again, to be honest with you, you've got to look at it. We are the seeded club. We aren't here as the underdog. They are. And we have to behave and believe that we are the seeded team. And if the players can get their minds right, I know they've been prepared as well as we humanly possibly could prepare them. So really the job is now down to them to believe in themselves. And that belief in themselves will take them to wherever the club can get to.
And finally, Mike, you came here in an £800 car that you bought in England or Wales. I don't know where you bought it, but in the UK. Are you going back by the same route?
Well, we have challenged their club that says the winner of the tie needs to drive to the next round. We obviously have a very good idea that the club that should win that tie will be the team from Moldova, if you go on their previous Champions League records. So that's a 500-mile journey from here. Bit of a breeze, really, compared to the number of countries we've been through to get here. So winner of the tie takes the car to the next. And at some point it does get to the final, doesn't it?
So we could possibly see Gareth Bale turning up somewhere, driving the car that you came to Macedonia in.
Yeah. With the trophy in the boot. You like that, don't you?
Very good, Mike.
And, so you need to tell me, what's the fishing like here down that road?
Well, Mike, I have had a little dabble this morning.
Well, yeah, okay, and what about the river?
I've had a little dabble in the river this morning. Didn't catch anything, unfortunately, this time. But you know what, Mike? I've brought a limited amount of gear with me. A little telescopic mini rod and reel. And whatever the outcome, I can always say I've been fishing in Macedonia.
Wow, well done, Rev. And what bait will you be using?
Sweet corn.
Absolutely.
Joining us on the trip was the BBC, and I had a chat with Nick Southall. Spennymoor, Blythe, Leamington. No disrespect to those places, of course, Nick, but Cyprus, Macedonia, etc. Quite a contrast.
Yeah, the weather's very different. Mind you saying that, when we got here, it was raining, wasn't it? So the weather was probably better back in the UK than here. But yeah, when you look at the National Stadium, where TNS will be playing in against Skendia, it is a big contrast, and also a big contrast with what the New Saints players come up against in the Welsh Premier League too. This is the real carrot for them to be playing in Europe, and they deserve their chance here.
You've been to a number of games over the years, Nick.
Yeah.
How do you see TNS progressing over that time?
Well, I think they've made lots of progress. When you go back to Liverpool, Manchester City, at Anderlecht, you felt that they were starting to become a good team in Europe. Yes, they're playing against much bigger teams when it comes to budgets, but I thought that Anderlecht game, I remember the Anderlecht fans applauding the TNS players off. Steve Evans was playing in defence, Romelu Lukaku was playing for Anderlecht. And that was a big moment because the fans appeared to stay behind just to applaud the TNS players off, and I think that was a real special moment for the club. and showed how far they had grown in that amount of time. And then you go recently that beating Cliftonville, and then the one which sticks in the memory was Matty Williams' goal against Videaton in Hungary, beating Videaton over the 90 minutes, but sadly in extra time losing out. So I think there has been progress every year, and they have run teams very close. Even the Apoel game, you could say they were slightly unlucky to have lost by the margin they did. Rijeka were a strong team, weren't they, in Croatia? But this time, seeded, I think that is slightly misleading, because I think Skendia are probably very similar to TNS. So although going in as the seeded team, I think it will be a tough game. But I think there are strong parallels between the two clubs, so I think it's a good opportunity for the New Saints to progress, and a slightly, no games are easy, but a slightly easier task than having to go to Rijeka or Dynamo Zagreb or Red Star Belgrade.
And you've covered TNS under the Craig Harrison regime.
Yeah, Mike Davis as well before then.
Mike Davis prior to that. Now, of course, Scott Ruscoe.
Yeah.
How do you see Scott as a manager? He's beginning his second season.
Yeah, I think he's a great manager. I really do. You look at his record in that first year. You look at the situation that he inherited the squad. Yes, he knows everybody, so that would have helped. But he took over after great success under Craig Harrison, and it was probably felt like a time where change had to be made to the squad gradually, because there were lots of players who've been here a long time. And you can see that, especially in the last month or so, there has been that transition in bringing in good young players and mixing that with some of the more experienced players. You've lost people like Phil Baker, who were great servants for the club, Matty Williams too, and those are hard decisions to make, Alex Darlington. But I think he's made some really good signings, the likes of Dean Ebb coming in, who, watching him in training on Monday, he looks a real lively player. Kevin Cowber coming in too. There are several. But I think that, they have the makings of having probably the strongest squad they've had in Europe.
The result, of course, wasn't what we wanted. But following the game, our manager, Scott Ruscoe, faced the press in a post-match conference.
Yeah, I think first half you could see the intent and how sharp they were and how well they passed the ball, but they haven't done anything that we haven't seen them do before. So I would say for how good they were tonight, thought we weren't great, I've got to be honest. All I asked at the start of the game was to match them for effort, intensity, everything that we do normally, and we won't go far wrong, but we've gifted them the 2 goals, we give the ball away, they've broken us and they've scored. So, we haven't quite been good enough on the night, and we've been beaten by the better team. End of story. I don't just think it's him, I think there's a few decent players we need to mark, not just Ibrahimi. I highlighted him before the game, very good player, drops off, comes deep, can score all sorts of goals, shoots with his right foot, his left foot, takes set plays with his right foot and left foot, so I don't know if he knows which is his best foot, he's that good. So we'll give it a go, we have to get some pride back out of this leg and work towards the Europa League.
I hope you've enjoyed our guests this week. I certainly enjoyed chatting with them. Don't forget to check out our website, tnsfc.co.uk, for news, views and opinions from Park Hall.